Hi there, friends. I won't even take a minute to put on any lipstick. Gotta catch those rainbows. And we'll just let the natural light be that which is. Oh my goodness, I didn't stop and think at all about was I going to read to you or, just go live. I guess it looks like live it is. All right. What have I to offer? I really don't know. Uh, I'm joyous. Absolutely joyous. I love your comments and the way I'm reflected in them and in the way heart is shining. And so many, when I first started, people's comments, of course, all came pretty much from the mind. And now, when you look at the comments, you can see how often people are in heart. And it's just such a magnificent thing. It's a big transition to make, and it's the thing that terrifies mind the very most. Is this transition, this movement to being centered in heart instead of head all the time. Mind looks at it as its demise. It's not really. I mean, it's just being fired from its ruling position is all. I mean, it's still along for the ride. But I think it might have been Mooji who captured it so beautifully by saying, let mind never leave the lap of the heart. And when we have a pairing up like that, a sort of mating that takes place, and there's no more two-ness, there becomes a oneness. And at a certain point, my last journal spoke about seeing the contrast between the operation of the brain, the mind, and of the heart. And this can't be seen at all until we begin to have at least some experience of being in heart. Um, there's not sufficient height for perspective. Mind can't look down on itself. Mind is kind of a flat, level playing field thing, and there's no great vistas that you can take and climb the mountain and look down upon the territory of mind. In order to do that, one has to be, well, in another space. I'm going to say in heart. They're just words, though. Remember, they're just words. We're coming to, is it a new dimension? I don't know. This whole thing with dimensions or densities or planes or, um, you know, at a certain point that begins to look too linear, to me anyway. Um, Frequencies are rising. There's no doubt about that. I expect in this generation, if we, I don't know how much technology will play a part in our new earth. I don't know. Uh, it's stunning when you first hear it. But the Andromedans, through Alex Collier, give us their perspective on Earth human beings and technology. And they include themselves. They say, we have to use technology in order to accomplish what you can accomplish just with your biology, just with your being. And they're amazed. This is another aspect of the genetic royalty thing, at the energy that we use in command. Now, while we're living in the 3D mind, we're doing this unconsciously. We're quite unaware of it. We don't know. I love the lecture where Alex says, you don't realize the little tchotchkes that you have on the shelves the level of energy that it takes to keep them there. Uh, things aren't really present the way we think they are. Remember, the solid substance of any human body fits in a thimble because atoms are empty space for the most part. 99.99999% empty. I've even seen it with another 9 or 2 tacked on the end. I mean, it gets to a point that's not necessary to go any farther. Basically, things aren't really there. That's what it amounts to. Come on, consider it. Can you ponder it from heart? You'll be in a lot better space if you do. Mind kicks up a lot of dust at these kind of things because mind has a whole reality structure that it's created based on its own thoughts and beliefs and ideas. It's developed attitudes and so on, and its whole world comes tumbling down. With an analogy like that, you can fit all of the solid material substance in a human body into a thimble. And it terrifies mind, and that's uncomfortable. Being frightened isn't very enjoyable. So don't, drop out of the head. Do what you can when you turn on one of these videos or start to read one of the journals on Scribed to center in heart first. See if you can begin to remind yourself. If I'm going to do one of Teresa's journals, I need to center first. It takes like 2 seconds. It's nothing. It's nothing. It really isn't. I don't do any practices anymore. I used to, over the years, I've had various practices that I enjoyed very much at the time. I feel like they were useful. And I probably wouldn't do anything different if I went back. I don't know. That's a really invalid way of looking at things at this point. My heart doesn't want to go there. It doesn't make sense to heart to say that. But what I'm saying now is that I don't feel that there's any kind of a practice necessary to be who and what you already are, to be where you are, to just be. What kind of practice do you need to just be? If you have a practice, aren't you saying that there's some kind of an imperfection here that needs to be improved upon or corrected? And if I do this practice, that will make things better. Are we not going off out into the future with that? Are we not resisting the present in some way or judging it? Now, that isn't to say that this applies to you at all. Your heart has the wisdom and intelligence that's divinely ordained for your life, for your being, for your guidance. And you might find me next week pick up a practice, if my heart calls me to do it. Ralph Waldo Emerson was the first one who uttered this sentiment that I came across. I love his essays, especially Self-Reliance. Oh my God. That's, about 30 pages worth of just tripping out on some kind of bliss. Anyway, he said, and it's in Self-Reliance that he said it, don't be loyal to what you said last week, last month, last year. Don't feel that you are tied down and trapped into some kind of a mold based on what's gone before. Be loyal to the now. Be loyal to the truth. In this moment, speak your truth. With all of your heart, speak your truth. And if in the next moment another truth comes to you, speak that. Even if it goes totally against what you just spoke a minute ago. He says it a lot better. Okay, he put some effort into it. I don't know. Maybe his work just flowed like this work does for me. I don't know, so I take that back. But being poised in the moment is very good. And at least in my walk, from my understanding whatever, words. Um, as I come more and more deeply into heart, practices just don't make any sense. And I'm just not called to them. See, that's the joy and the beauty of it too, is that your heart, as you just place your attention in the center of your chest and just keep it up and keep it up until it's a habit, and you kind of tend more often than not to have your attention centered there, just to have an awareness in the back of your mind. That doesn't mean don't be in the head at all. It just means, in addition, have a part of your awareness centered in your chest. And as you do that, I forgot where I was going with that. Isn't that funny? Just being present. It's like where the XY grid, where they cross. There's something really magical about the point that is in some way juxtaposed with this central chest area, with what I call heart. It's a balancing act, because everything in society and everything in our programming and on our past experience wants to have us off in the past and the future. I call it smeared across time. You know, we've got the worries and things that what those do is they take the future and they finger paint it with the past. They smear the past all over the future. Or regrets, you know, where you're just stuck back there in time, and you're off of the center. You're off. Oh, the cross. That's what the cross is. Okay, so for me, this is the sacredness of the cross. I never saw it that way before. Excuse me. Okay. Guess I just had a bit of an illumination there. It's where the arms of the cross cross, where they meet. That is the sacred point. That's the kingdom, or the entry into it. I don't know. All of those are words. Those are really just concepts that are convenient and handy as long as we're walking around with a mind, I guess. But it's a real experience that we're being called to, that we're entering into. We're rising in frequency. We're rising in consciousness. This is no longer a spectator sport. And to the mind, everything is kind of a spectator deal, you know? You sit back and study it. You go and you learn all about it. How much of your schooling invites you directly into experience of anything? You know? It's to be mental is to be stuck on the surface, and to be in heart is to be in the center of things. Only at one and the same time, you're in the center of literally everything. When you're at that cross point, you're in the center of the tree out there. You're in the center of every atom, everywhere. And it's another world. Only it's right here and it's right now. It reminds me again of that. It was a simple bookmark, but I cherished it. It said, "Does God seem far away? Guess who moved?" We move off of that cross point, of that center. And as we move off, whether it's into past or future, regrets or expectations, whether it's into frequencies above or below or whatever, as we move off where the two bars cross there, we're not quite centered up with the fullness of life and living. that we really are. When you're there, you don't exist as a person, a 3D thing anymore. That's gone. You've died to that. That still exists, only you're in a whole new relationship to it. You've pulled back from being identified with it. And that's what's necessary here. You know, first we pull back from being the body and thinking we're that. And that's a big enough step, but pulling back from the mind is trickier. The mind is very wily, and there are traps laid all around because there are those who are so brilliant who use mind in order to play with us, like the disinformers on the web. I mean, look at what that does. They don't come in and tear down the good stuff. They just come in with such a cacophony of competing voices, and you can pick a perspective anywhere on the grid and, you know, find somebody touting it. And it's all about division. Division, not just of brother from brother, which is bad enough, the divide and conquer thing, but it's much deeper than that. It divides us from self. In a way, though, I think it's backfiring on those who use the disinformation tactic. It worked for a while when we were so innocent and not really alert to the level of darkness that's operating behind the scenes. You know, you want to think the best of folks, including your government. You do. I mean, wasn't this America? You know, all that kind of thing. And so we have to kind of wander through that and shed a lot of those ideas, beliefs, and attitudes, or we'll never be able to see past them, because with our beliefs, we craft our reality. And as we shed our beliefs, we come more and more to be centered and central on that cross. And there we are with the flexibility and the ability to float and roll, like I said earlier, like on ball bearings, to have this ultimate flexibility to be in the center of every atom and molecule everywhere, and not just in the center of it, but we contain it. We contain all of cosmos, all that is, all that isn't. Things are not at all what they seem. But we have a good deal of shucking of beliefs, thoughts, attitudes, and ideas to go through before we get this flexibility. You know, it's like greasing the ball bearings or something, you know. The mind is brittle. It's rigid. It's linear. It's locked down. It wants everything neat and orderly in point A, B, C, and D, step 1, 2, 3, and 4. You know, and first you do this and then you do that, and you got to have all your procedures and the right people sign and all of that stuff. And it's just so much bullshit at a certain point. It has its uses, it has its functions, but not to be owned by it, not to be controlled by it, not to be so deep into belief in it that you can't see the forest for the trees. You know, as we step back and ever deeper into heart, we experience that inner tuition where we're just shown things. And understanding just opens, only it's not mental. It's really not. And so I guess maybe I'll just say, let's do what we can, not to quit using mind, but to quit relying on it so much. It's vesting belief in an idea that's not so hot. There's nothing wrong with ideas. There's nothing wrong with thoughts. They're going to come and go whether we like it or not. That's not a part of life that we have control over. Thoughts are things that just are. They exist. They will arise, you know. I'm not into some kind of asceticism where you try to silence the mind. I think that's to do violence to the self. Thoughts aren't the problem. It's believing them that is. Good day. See you soon. See you now.